All right, friends, host Eric here with the power group here. We got powerful people in the room ready to comment on the following topic, which is manners of, I guess, reasoning. It would be a good way to put it, which is to say the range from visual to auditory and or some other methodology of understanding reasoning. For me, reasoning is very linguistic / auditory. I do not ever visualize 3D objects and then turn them in my head. That is one of my weakest possible areas. I can't do it abstractly. I can't do it in the physical world either. If I have to turn a piece of furniture to get through a doorway, I'll be like, this happened with Candace when she was moving out, I think. There's something, and I had to get it back into the house. Somebody had to get back in the house, and I said, Candace, this doesn't fit through the doorway. Oh no, it was something new we had got, because I remember saying to her, we need to return this or something. You need to get a different one. This does not fit through the doorway. There's no way to turn this to fit through the doorway. And she's like, well, try turning it like this. And I'm like, God damn it, again with this shit. It's happening my whole life. I can't do stuff like that. Why? Because I don't visualize well. When I have taken an intelligence test that has, when you imagine yourself turning this object this way or that way, and then what will it look like? I do badly on those tests. I'm a moron. It says, you are an idiot. So, it really matters what kind of reason you are comfortable with as to whether a testing of a reasoning style test is going to show you how intelligent you are, quote unquote. I do really well on verbal reasoning tests, and I've got very strong auditory processing skills. I've got excellent pitch musically, and I have the equivalent thing with audio. When I'm falling asleep, sometimes I can hear fully orchestrated songs in my head playing like magically, and unlike when I'm awake, I can hear the whole continuing on while isolating individual parts, listening to them all in my head. But I can only do that when I'm like half asleep.
Now that you mentioned that music thing, that's something I do too. But my primary mode, and for people that are watching, I'm an INTP. The primary mode, if it matters, right? It seems like it probably doesn't. Is thinking in, three-dimensional objects and rotating them or moving them through time and stuff like that. And then the secondary thing that I'm doing is constantly having like narratives and like talking, and stuff like that. But I don't really think in terms of like labels or like linguistically. It's just like a matter of processing the thoughts, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but that's my primary place where I go. So
I think it's worth noting that I've seen like an INTJ debater and an INTP debater both be really good with different sort of flavors of doing the same thing, but having got there from completely different angles. So it's possible for people to display equivalent competency and equivalent styles of apparent cognition, but having got there from different angles. I should just toss that in there. INTJs, I've got one that I work with today, and I work with her all year, and it's weird how slow they are. You think like today I introduced some new concepts to her. You'd think if you were standing there in a third party, you think this girl's not that bright. You'd be completely wrong. It just takes her a day or two to process it all, and then she comes back and she understands it better than anybody else. So anyway, next person to comment on audio visual. Taylor, you got any thoughts on that?
I could re-go through my little thing earlier. I do visualize things, and it's the easiest things to think about. The easiest concepts are purely auditory or narrative, linguistic, because I can just sort of hear it in my head and then be engaged in the world around me. It doesn't take that much mental energy. The hardest things, I do actually take the object and mentally spin it around and play with it, or the concept. And then it becomes interactive, sort of on a physical, metaphysical, in a metaphysical way, physically, whatever. And then in between there is stuff where it's pictured. So in between there I can kind of see it, but I'm not manipulating it.
Interesting. I remember early in my childhood, my mother said, one of the great things about reading books is that when you read a book, it's like You're watching a movie the whole time and you're reading it in your head. And she said that to me a couple of times, as ISFJs can tend to uh, be axiom attracted. Anyway, the point is, I remember in my childhood saying to her one time, like, but I don't. That doesn't happen to me. I don't know what you're talking about. If you said that several times, but I don't see a movie in my head when I read a book. I don't know what you mean. And
if I get into it,
I'm totally into reading books. I totally would get into it, and I would see a series of. I have a series of scene images from the book, but it wasn't ever like moving pictures at all, and it's like my weird sort of like approximation images. They aren't really images; they're like icons almost representing things. That's how bad my visualization skill is. You've seen my drawings.
yes,
Well, okay. Now, granted, Susie, the picture of Susie looked exactly like her. It looked exactly like her. But other than that, my drawings usually aren't that photorealistic. But the picture, if Susie has that picture somewhere nearby, she'd hold it up. You can't tell whether it's her, which one's holding the picture, and which one is the picture. That's how photorealistic it is. Yeah. You literally can't tell the difference. Susie. Oh no, that's the pic. Oh, that's the picture. Shit. Sorry, Susie. I thought it was you for a second.
God, that's
Well-
sick.
Zach, Chloe, you got any thoughts on this visual thing? How about you, visual or audio? Give me 2 minutes, baby, and I'm done.
Okay, well, when I was little, I used to be very good at imagining things. So I'd say that mentally I could just like imagine almost anything I love to read. So like if I'm reading something, I can just like completely imagine like it's very vivid because like I can imagine like very vivid images in my mind. It's not like a movie though, it's just like vivid and I'm
Would they
kind
stay put? Could you draw a picture of an image from your head?
kind of like I mean it wouldn't be exactly like the image that I have in my mind unfortunately. But I do like editing movies because like it kind of ties into that because like I get this idea and then it's just like okay, I can visualize it and it's like this and then when I'm editing a video it's like yeah, this is like intuitively going together. So and I happen to be an ENFP for those who are watching, so yeah.
I also think your professional training probably plays a role, right? Like, if you've been trained to think visually or auditorily or linguistically or whatever.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I can relate to all the things you mentioned, like the thing Chloe says. I can still remember a few scenes in the book I read as a child. Even back then, I could do that. And the tests where you move objects in your mind, I score high in that too. And I can also remember certain songs and stuff. Like, it's all contextual and inner dialogue. Everyone does that.
Yeah. I also used to daydream while listening to music too. I would just like imagine different scenes in different movies and imagine possible stories and possible movies that could be set to that particular piece of music.
But hold on, let me interject this thought before I go browse to a closing bell. But think about the troll question. Think about the way Megabro first answering it. He had a whiteboard and he drew a picture of the river and the objects and dealt with it that way. That's somebody who's a visual thinker. Whereas me, I immediately try to pin the storyteller down if I were going to approach it because it's a narrative exercise for me. Anyway, that's the only thought I have. I gotta go because Kimberly just.
This is the image that is coming in my head when Chloe talks under that blanket. It's been in my head all fucking ever since she came in here with that blanket.
I'm glad we got that joke in. I'm glad we got the joke in before I push stop. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Good night, everybody.